What's up, all you fellow growers out there? It's me, your host, Rob Smith, here for another week of the Homegrown Helpers, where we're bringing you premier cannabis cultivation education in the form of interviews with home growers just like you that have gone through the trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs of at least their first grow. We've had a couple very first-time growers like Miss Mercine a couple weeks ago. So this is another great interview with a Grow Pass member, an engaged community member, somebody that's out there just wanting to give back with the knowledge that he's acquired, and also a fellow podcaster. You can check out his podcast, Talking Buds, and I'm talking about nobody other than Max. Max, Scrim, and Ruby is where you can find him. There's underscores between all of those. Max _Scrim _N as in Nancy _Ruby on Instagram. And, you know, this is just a fun interview. It's been a long time in the works, kind of chasing each other back and forth. I was out of town for a while, and but we were able to hop on the line and make this happen. So, you know, what's in store for this interview is we talk about two very key topics. We spend a lot of time on those, discretion being the first one. And that's because Max lives in a land of prohibition up in the Midwest. And then we get into lighting. So discretion and lighting are the two big topics that we cover here. Then we talk about hermit plants, a little bit of IPM, and a bunch of other random, helpful tips that come up during this conversation. What else is going on? Well, I hinted that I had a special announcement for you last week coming up right now. That special announcement, if you haven't seen it on Instagram, if you haven't seen it out there in the world anywhere else, is the fact that our friend Frenchie Cannoli, who just recently spent some time with Jordan over on Growcast, he's coming to do a little fireside chat with us. Now, this isn't going to be your typical, hashishin demonstration or, how-to videos. This is going to be a live chat with Frenchie and Madam Cannoli. And leading up to that, we're going to send out a bunch of the education material that Frenchie has out in the world. So you're not going to miss any of the education. But this is specifically going to be a time where we get to ask Frenchie some questions that we might not see the answers to out into his educational material. But ultimately, it's about hearing some old smuggling stories, some old war stories, if you will. And that's the type of stuff that I love, that I want to hear. So that's, pretty much, this is a selfish act for me. I just wanted to get Frenchie on and tell some of those, stories of smuggling, Moroccan hash from, across border and into the U.S. or wherever it was going. That's the stuff that I want to hear. So you can find that along with all the other stuff that we do here at Growcast, Grow Pass, and of course, this show, The Homegrown Helpers, at linktr.ee/Growcast. Pretty much everything we do lives right there. The only other thing is, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share the show. It's the only thing that helps us grow. We don't do ads. It's all word of mouth, and the algorithms that the podcast apps feed you the information. So we really appreciate that. We couldn't do it without you guys. So the other people that we couldn't do this without are Green Goddess Supply. And Green Goddess Supply are makers, purveyors of premium smoking equipment. So not only do we partner with the best grow brands in the world, but you got to have something to smoke your product out of. So smoke your harvest out of. So not only do they make all the accessories, but they also have the armoire. So the armoire is a grow cabinet, and you can get $100 off using code GROWCAST100, or just talk to Eric, telling me that you found or heard of it on Growcast. So what do they have over at greengoddesssupply.com? Pipes, rolling papers, trays, grinders, not just trays, like sifting boxes and premium, like handmade stuff specifically made for Green Goddess Supply. This isn't like bulk orders and they just slap their name on it. This is Green Goddess Supply's stuff. So go check them out. Use the code GROWCAST for 10% off all the accessories. So that's code GROWCAST at checkout at Green Goddess Supply. Hey guys, one last thing that I completely forgot to add in here. Max is going to be joining us in our Slack community this Sunday at 3 p.m. So if you have any questions, want to chat about the episode, find the link in our Instagram bio or in the show notes. All you have to do is enter in your email address and you're in Slack. Then you get to take advantage of all the perks that we have in there, learn lots of stuff. So yeah, this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's get into this interview with Max. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of Homegrower Education. I'm Rob, getting ready to kick it off with my friend Max. What's up, Max?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. So Max is from the upper Midwest, right outside of Chicago there. And Max is ready to share with you his cannabis journey and some tips and tricks. How you doing today, Max?
I'm good. Just got off work.
Good.
Ready to talk about cannabis.
Right on, man. From what I understand, it's one of your favorite things to do. You've also kicked off your own podcast, right? Why don't we tell the audience about that right off the bat?
Yeah, so I just started a podcast. It's called Talking Buds. It's on all platforms. Pretty much anything to do with cannabis cultivating, tips and tricks, breeder features, just trying to spread content.
So while we're on the shameless self-promotion, why don't you tell our friends where they can find you and follow along with your growing journey?
So I'm mainly on Instagram as Max Scrim and Ruby. So it'd be Max _Scrim _N _Ruby. Otherwise, you can follow my podcast, like I said, on just about any platform.
So is there a story behind your Instagram handle? I've always wondered that.
Not really. I guess I just wanted to blend in the community. I'm not fully ready to jump out and be as open as some people, and there's reasons for that.
Sure.
Part of that has to do with where I live. So
Sure. Absolutely. We all have reasons for what we're doing, man. And you know that I'm very much about being the change you wish to see in the world, but also taking it to the comfort level that you're willing to. And that's what it's all about. So, which you do, from what I've seen, a great job at being a good steward in the industry and in the scene. So, not putting your real name out there is no knock towards what you're doing. You're definitely doing a killer job out there. So why don't we just kick it off? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your past and what got us here to this point where you're sharing your story with the Homegrown Helper audience.
okay. So I've always, been interested in pot or weed, whatever you want to call it. I never really agreed with the stigma. I never really thought it was a negative drug or something to look down upon. Out here in the Midwest, there's a lot of people that don't fully believe it's a medical benefit or that it can be a medical benefit. And I don't know, I'm just trying to beat that up. That's why I started my podcast. That's why I started cultivating and growing my own. I don't want to deal with, not knowing what people are doing with product, not knowing if they're spraying it with pesticides or you never really know what you're getting if you just go to a local dealer. So I started cultivating my own. I've been growing for about a year now. And also I thought it wasn't very easy to find good information. There's a couple places to find decent information that you can trust, but otherwise you go on Facebook or some of these sites and it's just you get bashed for not knowing everything right away. So I wanted to help people find good information.
Cool. And I think you wanted to give a shout out to a close friend of yours that's provided a lot of guidance and, some mentorship, if you will, and has helped you kind of get to this point.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out Jack Greenstock from Cheap Home Grow. He's also on there with Dr. Coco. They've given me a bunch of advice. I go to Coco for cannabis, and I actually was using Dr. Coco's feed chart for a while. Also, you guys, Growcast and Cheap, all of these podcasts I found are the best way to get decent information or to find other people that can help you in cultivating your own.
Yeah, shout out to Shane from Cheap Home Grow. I was one of his like first 10 interviews, I think. I remember him being so nervous when we were trying to set up the phone call. It was funny. And I'd already been on Growcast a bunch, and but never been on this side of the mic. And then when I got on this side of the mic, I was like, now I know how Shane felt. Like everything's on you. You're about to hit record. You're like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And then you get it in your head, you hit record, and it all goes out your head for some reason. I don't get it.
Right.
Did that happen to you when you hit record the first time?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
It's like you can have the script in front of you and you hit record and it's like,
Yeah, that definitely happened the first time, for sure.
Yeah. So let's get into a little grower education, Max, and kick us off telling us about your grow room, your grow setup, your grow tent, whatever it is. Bring us in there. Give us some brands, give us some names, sizes, shapes, colors, whatever you'd like. As much detail as you can.
All right, so I'm in a 4x4 tent. It's a 4x4 VivoSim tent. I also have a cheap Walmart tent off to the side. And in the cheap Walmart tent, we'll start there. I have a 8,000 BTU, just a portable AC. And with that, I have air fresheners in that tent, as well as a carbon filter. And that gets siphoned into the 4x4 VivoSim tent. And we'll start with the light, since I believe lighting is, one of the key factors to your success, at least with how much product you'll get at the end. I have a budget LED grow light. They're on Instagram as budget LED grow lights. They're based out of Michigan. It's a 500 watt Samsung diodes. I believe it's got the Meanwell driver. Really recommend that light. It's full spectrum. It's got switches on it where you can switch the red and blue diodes from flower to veg, or if you want to mix your spectrum, which is what I do, because I believe it pulls out some nice colors having some blue in there. And I have clip-on fans making basically a little tornado in my grow room, in my grow tent. And I got clip-on fans on 3 corners. I have a tower on the back of my tent, and I use 3-gallon fabric pots with cocoa from Mother's Earth cocoa with perlite, 70-30, 70% cocoa, 30% perlite. I use the Flora Trio for nutrients. I also use the Atlas Plant Trainer for training,
Boom.
which
best product on the market, or so I've been told.
I wasn't gonna even. I product you can't get around it, and you can even use those parts for other parts of your grow that you might not suspect. I try and use everything that I order. I try and use it some way or another, and just one Atlas Plant Trainer, it comes with so many parts that you can use it for other things, mounting fans or holding certain stuff. I've seen Dr. Coco use it for his light test and moving the puck around.
It's funny. I was just chatting with Jordan before calling you, and he was showing me pictures of his. I think they were green peppers, and he had a horizontal connector coming up sideways. I was like, "What? How is that in that direction?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm using this in a completely different way than you ever intended." So, that was kind of the design, was to give people the creativity and the functionality that they just never really had before. So I'm glad to hear that it's serving you well.
Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time, and
Awesome.
you can use it for more than one plant. A large set, you can definitely use on 3 little plants, no problem.
Absolutely. So, budget LED, 3-gallon pots. Anything else we were missing out of your room?
I guess I didn't really tell you the design.
Yep.
With AC unit, I have that venting in the top, and that goes right on top of the budget LED. The driver is mounted on top, so it does get a little warmer in there. but not too bad. So I have the AC blowing right on top of the heat sink, which keeps that light very cool, actually. And then, like I said, with the fans making a decent amount of wind, not blowing directly at the plant, but it definitely ruffles the leaves and oscillates. And I totally recommend good airflow because that is huge.
So when you say good airflow, I have a kind of tip in mind to know what's good airflow. What's your definition of good airflow?
I definitely like to see leaves rustle around. I just try not to aim it directly at leaves. I don't want to burn up my leaves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, panels, you need those to produce big nugs. And I mean, if you want to see how it's set up, I was actually going to make a video and post it on my Instagram. So
Cool.
we can do that.
Are you still rocking your YouTube channel too?
I don't have a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
I was debating starting one up, but I think security is a pretty big thing.
Gotcha. Understood. So keep going with the airflow. I felt like there was more there. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't aim fans directly at the plant. You don't want to beat up your leaves.
Yep.
And with moving it around more, I feel like it really helps the plant breathe. You know, it's in my eyes, the plant's just like a human in a lot of ways, and it's definitely not going to complain about having good fresh air, being intake. You know, having it blown in on from the top. Cold air goes down, hits these fans, spin around, and then I have the exhaust at the bottom of my tent blowing out, and it just works out really nice.
Cool. Anything else about your room or your grow setup before we kind of shift gears? You did a great job at being very specific.
So one more thing I want to say is definitely keep outside light out of your room if possible. Those tents are not 100% sealed, and light leaks will cause problems.
What do you do to detect light leaks?
I totally block it out. I actually plasticked it off. I had a huge window in that room, and I have curtains, blacked out curtains over the window, and then on top of that, I have Panda film on the inside of the house, obviously blocking out any other light that goes through that blacked out curtain.
Have you done anything to detect the light leaks? So what I used to do, and I built my room, so it's a little different. You need to make sure that, there's no lights, going from room to room. But I used to sit in my rooms for like 15 to 20 minutes in the complete pitch black dark with a roll of duct tape in my hands and wait. And it is amazing. Like, you can be in there for 5 minutes, be like, nope, totally dark. But 15, 20 minutes in, man, the amount of light that your eyes see, it is crazy. And just being able to walk over to a spot and be like, oh, piece of duct tape there, and then it's gone. And now you know where the light leaks are. And, swapping out the duct tape or whatever. So, if you have concerns, but you've taken the steps to prevent it, but if you have concerns, that's really what you got to do, is kind of just sit in there and wait for your eyes to adjust to kind of work past that point and take care of those light leaks.
Yeah, I mean, I have actually heard that on Growcast, and that is exactly.
Cool. So let's get into. We didn't talk about number of plants, what you're growing nowadays. Do you grow autoflowers, photoperiod, and what strains do you got in there?
So right now, I haven't grown any auto strains. I actually do have quite a few auto strains, but I'm going to save that for my next run. I've only grown photoperiod because I believed it was a little easier. You can make mistakes. You're not on a time limit, and you can veg for as long as you need to. So I started with photo strains for that reason. Right now, I'm growing predicative breeding, a diesel New England rock candy, or diesel rock candy is what it's actually called. I don't believe he actually has any of those in stock right this moment, but he's definitely probably going to be dropping them again. And I'm definitely going to be purchasing more of these seeds because it is a very vigorous plant, and it blew up in my room. It is huge.
Diesel rock candy sounds like the exact type of strain that I would want in my life. So
Yeah, it's definitely a vigorous plant. I only vegged it out for 4.5, 5 weeks, and when I flipped it to flower, it's over 6 feet tall now. So
Wow.
I'm very happy that I have a tall tent, and I'm really happy with my lighting company. It's a very bright light, but it doesn't get hot enough to actually burn leaves.
Hmm.
I do have it dimmed because my plant is within 7 or 8 inches of
Hmm.
my light.
What percentage do you have that dimmed down to, and are you searching for any particular leaf surface temperature? Are you testing that? What are you gauging your light percentages by?
So I don't have a par meter or anything. Those are actually very expensive for
Hmm.
the one that we would need for LEDs. It's like $600.
Yep.
But yeah, I did get an infrared meter so I could take my leaf surface temps. And with ambient room temperature being 82 degrees at 75% for my light, it's exactly 82 degrees for my leaf surface temp
Hmm.
on the top of the canopy.
Hmm.
So it did take, I mean, I don't know how much I believe some of those infrared meters, but I bought a $200 infrared meter, and I just, I trust it. It seems fairly close. But yeah, I recently actually found out that the plant can't feel ambient temperature and that it only goes off of leaf surface temperature. Otherwise, it has no idea what the temperature is in that room.
Right. Right.
So,
Yep. You can test your infrared thermometer. Just shoot it in the freezer or at some ice or boiling water. And I don't know if those can be calibrated. I imagine so. But that's you can kind of get a gauge and make sure it's working just shooting it in the snow. Or, I mean, you got plenty of that up there. And, well, not right now, obviously. But, we're in the freezer or boiling water to get the high side and just be able to tell that way. The other question I had about your grow room, last thing, and we'll move on. Any monitors, remote monitors, any sensors, any controllers, anything like that?
yeah, so I actually have one of your sponsors. I have AC Infinity.
Right on.
The first grow in this environment, I used a 4-inch exhaust, and it wasn't enough for my 4x4. I'm still currently using that 4-inch because I can't reach it anymore with the plant and how it's all set up. So it's gonna finish out this run. I did order a 6-inch AC Infinity, and I recommend the Smart Series. It's just nice to have that reader and be able to see what your temp and humidity is. And I do believe in having a bunch of hydrometers. So I have 2 hydrometers on the floor, just cheap little ones you can buy with temperature and your humidity
Hmm.
or relative humidity. And then I have the AC Infinity. I'm still going to use both AC Infinities, so I'll have two of those sensors for the next grow. I'll use one. I'll use the 4-inch for exhaust, I'll use the 6-inch for exhaust and the 4-inch for the intake. And then I can use that. So, if it gets too hot, I'll have one set to blow in cooler air. And then if the humidity gets too high, I'll have one set to pull that out of the tent. And I'll play around with that and try and set up my environment as best I can. I also have an ink bird. So if it gets over 79 degrees, my AC kicks on. And lately, since it's summer, it's very hot up here. It is constantly on. But so if it's over 79, I know it's over 82 in my grow room, and the AC kicks on, and it actually holds exactly at 82 degrees with my AC set at 62. So
Nice, nice. That's perfect. You know what's not long from right now? That's harvest season. You know how I know that? Because there are leaves that are falling from the trees right now. And you know how sad that makes me? Very sad. Because I love summer. But you know what else I love? Is harvest season. You know what else I don't like? Harvest season. Because trimming. Trimming is not very much fun. Trimming sucks, a lot of people would say. But we have the solution for you, and that is Trimbag. Trimbag.com. Use the code GROWCAST to get $30 off the trim bag plus free shipping, while our members receive $50 off plus that same free shipping. What's trim bag? Why would I want to throw my product in a bag and have it trimmed up? I used to say the same things, guys. The product that comes out of this bag blows my mind every time. You really need to check it out. They have YouTube videos. They are very active on Instagram because they know that people doubt that it works. But it works. Just with a few shakes of the bag, you can trim up, like, I think it's 2 pounds in just a matter of a couple of minutes. And I'm telling you, it comes out like 80 to 90% to hand trim quality. Saves you a ton of time, and you don't lose trichomes. Check them out. Trimbag.com. Use code GROWCAST. Trimming sucks. Save yourself some time. Go get yourself a trim bag. Well, let's move on to some education here. That was a really great rundown. Thank you. Thank you. And I think that could lead right in, you kind of touched upon it, but let's lead right into discretion and the steps that you've taken in your grow room, which were lengthy. I mean, you mentioned air fresheners right at the beginning, but, the steps that you've taken to ensure that the smell and the knowledge of what you're growing at your house doesn't escape out past the four walls.
Yeah. So to start, I just don't think it's a very good idea for many people to know if you're growing a crop that is worth a lot of money. I mean, some of these strains, you're paying $250 for one seed, and I don't want any chance of someone deciding to try and break into my house to steal my plant or to steal my setup. This is medicine for me and my girlfriend, so we keep it to ourselves and we just try and be as, in the background, just try and blend in as much as we can. So I upgraded to the bigger exhaust system because it also has a bigger carbon filter, and that's key. And I recommend buying a decent carbon filter. With what they're made out of, you want good product. Otherwise, it's not going to work for long. Humidity destroys carbon filters, and quickly. So we have a good carbon filter. You can't see in our grow room. We have it blacked out for the light leaks, which also helps with people trying to look in. If you got a bunch of lights or a 500-watt LED, it's extremely bright. If I'm working in there watering or pulling a leaf or whatever you're doing, you're going to constantly be in there. So having people not be able to look in is a big part. And then the air fresheners also kind of help cover it up. I use air fresheners because, like, the little trees for people's cars, because it's cheap. It smells like, someone's cologne sometimes, so kind of blends in. I don't want it smelling like incense all the time because actually that can get confused for the same smell that I'm trying to hide. I mean, I guess it depends where you live, how discreet you want to be, but I just recommend not telling a bunch of people what you're doing. I mean, it's really no one's business, so unless you're a caregiver for someone, I would just keep it to yourself.
I just kind of had a thought here, Max. And you said you had those 99-cent air fresheners, and my concern is having those like chemically smells around your plants. Just because I've had.
I mean, it's not around my plant.
Okay.
It's actually
Okay.
So it's behind the AC.
Okay.
It's in that tent. It's not actually in the tent where my plants are.
Gotcha. I was just wondering if maybe like an essential oil diffuser would accomplish the same thing, but be more of a natural smell. Just throwing that out there,
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, and I think over time would be cheaper. They wouldn't need to be replaced as much, but you don't have that black ice smell.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the scents. And we do all this, and I just like to put it out there. If you're a dirty ripper, if you're one of those people that like goes, if you're stealing anything, you can just hit stop and unsubscribe right now. I don't want you in my world. But man, I always thought as legal cannabis got here that the amount of cannabis that was being grown is is so plentiful, and we just get to the point where like I had too much weed, you had too much weed, so let's give some weed away to some people that don't have weed, and that would stop this dirty ripper problem that happens every fall. But it's only gotten worse with the more people that grow outdoors, man. Like I had a friend that had 12-foot tall or 10-foot tall fences, and dudes were laying over the top of his fence, hacking off the tops of his plants, like just holding the tops, hacking them, and taking the tops like 3 or 4 feet, whatever they could reach. And the stories like that just go on, and it just disgusts me for all the same reasons that you said. It's your medicine. Like people work for this, and people should be able to have something in their yard without having to be concerned that it's taken. Like if there's a bicycle there, are these same kids going to come up and take a bicycle? No, probably not. But because it's a cannabis plant, they think that they can get away with it because up in Maine, where I'm from, police have actually prosecuted people that have stolen cannabis crops. So there's at least that. We're at least changing that part in the world, which I'm very thankful for.
Well,
anything to add to discretion before we wrap that up?
No, that's about it.
Awesome. So you wanted to talk about lighting and really, how important it was, and you have this budget LED and you have some history with some other lighting companies. So why don't you share with us why lighting is so important to you and why that was one of the things that you want to talk about?
So yeah, my first grow, I had a cheap Amazon light, a Mars Hydro light, TSW 2000. It was about 300 watts, and it was small. It was dinky. It was cheaply made. They do work. I will say that it definitely grew a plant very well, but I just it didn't fit my 4x4 tent very well. So I also had to buy a TS 1000 so I could cover a little bit more surface area. And there's a deeper story behind Mars Hydro, but I can't stand behind that company anymore. I've heard a lot of stuff about that company that I don't agree with. I've been part of a lot of stuff with that company that I didn't really appreciate. So I found Budget LED. They're based out of Michigan. It's just what it's called. It's a budget LED light. It's cheaper than the HLGs. It's basically the same design. It's got the LM301H diodes. It's got Samsung red diodes and blue. It's also got the UV Samsung diodes. And it's much bigger. It's got 4 boards on it. So it covers a much bigger area. And it came with a 3-year warranty. And I actually talk to my lighting company all the time. I like their lights so much that I talk to them. They answer any questions that you'll have. It's the best customer service I've ever had and seen. If you have any questions or recommendations or want to see test results, they'll get back to you right away. And I told them that I wanted to push and help with their lights. They gave me a discount code for 5%, which is capital M Max, and then just the letter N, and then Scrim. So Max and Scrim, and that's 5% off if anybody is looking for a good cheap light that's well made with a 3-year warranty, and it's US made. So a lot of people care about that, and I just highly recommend them. My plant is huge. You can go to my Instagram and see that these colas are bigger than my arm. And that's your plant's food. It's one of the most important parts to my grow. And it's definitely been, if I would have to say one change, one difference, one thing I changed that made the biggest difference, it would be my light, most definitely.
Well, from listening to the show that I am all about lighting as being if you're going to invest in one thing, it should be the light. You got to have the light. So that is the thing that fuels and feeds your plant. Can't do without it. Let's shift gears and just kind of, I think we're going to wrap things up pretty soon. But I wanted you to share your biggest lesson learned from your time growing. And I know it's been short and there's probably been a ton of them, just like with every new grower. But what's been the biggest lesson that you've kind of walked away with over your year of growing?
I would have to say it was my first grow. I had some Jack Herer photoperiod seeds. I spent 4 months vegging them because I ran into problems my first grow. And after that, after I got the plant healthy and put it into flower, everything was going good until about week 5 when I was checking, looking through my plant, pulling leaves, and I saw a couple seeds. And, I thought back, like, what could it possibly be? And I did exactly what you said earlier in the episode. I went and sat in my tent with lights off, and I saw a light leak coming in from the window. So that's what pushed me to cover the window. And since then, we haven't had problems. So, yeah, I mean, that was definitely the biggest lesson. You don't want to spend 5, 6 months working on a plant just to have a seed out on you. So that definitely made me look at all the smaller details a lot closer.
So how did you spot it? Like, was it just random, routine looking at plants? Was there anything? Was it like fully popped? Did it harm all the other ones? Did you not notice it?
Well, it was pretty late in flower. Like I said, it was like week 5. So, I mean, there was only 2 or 3 weeks left. And yeah, I was just doing, pulling little dead leaves off the bottom, or, I actually do pull a couple leaves off the top to clear for other bud sites that late in flower because, the tops are already pretty fat. And I wanted to get some more light lower. And I saw a banana sticking out. And I talked to my consultant at the time who was helping me with my first grow and found out that that was actually a seed. And it was just that one plant that actually seeded out. And it was the plant that was closest to the window. And after thinking about it, that's when I realized I probably had a light leak. And I was lucky enough to only lose one plant and have seeds. I did just finish out the run. And there wasn't many seeds. It was like one branch. But yeah, I don't wanna work that hard and, invest that much electricity or time to just have a decent product.
Cool. People have heard my story, I'm sure, but I'm just going to touch upon it real quick. I had an employee working for me in our grow, and I had him do some lollipopping. And, when I went in later that day or the next day, he didn't cut the branches, close enough to the next branch. He didn't cut the, branch off the stem. And, I told him that and was like, hey, next time, he probably left a half inch on each one of them. So I was like, next time, just cut it right down. So, the reason for that is the more you leave there, the more energy the plant is going to put back into growing that. And, if you've done that on any plant, you probably have seen it, create a little shoot and it starts to grow there again. But if you cut it right down to the branch, right down to the next stem, cut it completely off, it tends not to put energy back into that. So when I told him that, I told him that because he was lollipopping the next room, and he took it upon himself to go back into the first room. And this was like 4 or 5 days later. And this was the last lollipopping, around day 20. So it's into week 4, and he just took off all those little nubs on every single plant. One of them didn't like it and ended up harming it, didn't like the additional stress that it was put on there. And I didn't catch it in time. And it ended up seeding an entire room. As a caregiver, it was, 12 to 15 pounds of cannabis plus all the trim and stuff that was, had to end up turning into oil. And frankly, I'm still dealing with the remnants of that room, having the oil, now that it's, been years, having that turned into distillate to use in our own edibles. So the saga continues with the seeded room from 3+ years ago. It's crazy. So, Max, why don't we wrap things up there? Do you have any last bits of advice, any last bits of wisdom, anything last words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I want everyone to know that growing these plants and going through the process it can be life changing. It's very therapeutic. It's something I get to look forward to coming home and getting to do something that I enjoy. And I just recommend if you use marijuana as medicine, if you enjoy the benefits of it, try and grow your own. You can find good sources of information. If you're listening to this podcast, you found one already, and just know that stuff is going to happen, and you just got to fight through it and try and keep trying. And eventually you're going to get a good product and have something that you can, be happy with and use.
Great spot to end it, Max. Thanks so much. You can find him Max_Scrim_N as in Nancy _Ruby on Instagram. And Max, sometimes, maybe not, we won't even mention it, but is always willing to help out and give some guidance. So please reach out. And we're going to make sure Max is also in our Slack channel sometime after this goes live. And I will announce that in the intro to make sure that when you can come and join our Slack channel and hang out with Max and chat it up about his episode and ask him any questions that you might have had. Thanks so much, Max, for joining us and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And happy growing, guys. Until next time. Oh, don't forget, rate and review the podcast. And until next time, happy growing.